Hi guys, welcome to another video. Today I wanted to show you what and how I meal prep every week. I usually meal prep every single Monday and I will go grocery shopping on Sundays. I always meal prep lunches for all the days of the week, but recently I've also been liking to meal prep some things for breakfast and then also meal prep some vegetables to use throughout the week. I just find that it is so easy when you have things ready. My goal with meal prepping is to be very time efficient. I don't want to spend all day meal prepping. I try to do my meal prepping in 2 hours and be done with it. We're going to be prepping 4 different things today. We're going to be prepping high fiber muffins, some curry chicken salad, some grass-fed mini beef sliders with sweet potato, and zucchini chips with a Yogurt-Tahini sauce. That way we have breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snack prepped for the week. This morning when I woke up, I did put some chicken in the slow cooker for our chicken salad. You totally don't have to use a slow cooker. You could also boil the chicken. I just love the taste of the slow cooker. So that has been cooking for 4 hours and it just finished. Since the goal is to work efficiently, we're going to be cooking all the things at the same time. And so we want to start with things that need to be prepped, like the chicken. We're also going to preheat the oven for the sweet potatoes and the muffins. And we're going to go ahead and cook some lentils on the stove. You want to make sure you're rinsing your lentils to get rid of any extra starch. For the sweet potato, we don't want to cut it too thin because we are going to be using this for our mini sliders and we want the sweet potato to act as a bun. So if we do it too thin, it's going to be too flimsy. For these potatoes, I'm just gonna slice them in half and these will be prepped for dinner later in the week. You do wanna make sure that you score potatoes like this so that they cook better. We're just gonna drizzle this with olive oil, salt, and pepper and keep it super simple. And then we're just gonna go ahead and pop this in the oven for like 45 minutes. I will monitor this because I do like to flip these so that it cooks more evenly and I just like the way it tastes when it's been flipped. So we'll wanna flip it like halfway through. So now our water is boiling. We can go ahead and throw these in. I'm also just going to throw some salt in here, some pepper, and some garlic powder. You want to reduce the temperature to be simmer so it's not hard boiling the entire time. And then you're gonna give them like 12 to 15 minutes and then they're gonna be done. Now we're gonna start making our zucchini chips. These are so easy. You just want to slice the zucchini super thin so that you get a nice crisp to it. I recently learned an interesting knife hack that I thought was super helpful. So a lot of times you'll cut and something will stick to your knife like this and it's actually really annoying because then you have to like get it off of your knife. But I learned that that happens because too much of your knife is coming in contact with what you're cutting. And so instead, angle the knife differently and have less knife go in contact with what you're cutting and it won't stick the same way. Also, if you have trouble cutting circular things, be careful. Definitely don't cut yourself. If you get to this point and you're like, I'm too nervous, just cut it off. Give yourself a flat. Then you have a flat vegetable that you're working with. So now that you've gotten these all chopped up, we want to make sure they're super dry. So we're just going to dry them with a paper towel. By drying them like this, it's going to make them crisp a little bit more. And that just adds a lot of flavor to these zucchini chips. So we turn the lentils off. The potatoes are in the oven. Even though the zucchini chips are sliced and ready to go in the oven, we're going to wait because the oven is currently at 350 and we really want the oven to be at like 250 for the zucchini chips. And this is because we want the chips to cook all the way through and not like crisp on the edges and stay kind of moist and soggy on the inside. So it's worth it to just wait a little bit until we can turn the oven down. Now we're prepping the ingredients for the lentil high fiber muffins. So you're going to need lemon, you're going to need garlic, onion, olive oil, salt, pepper, sesame seeds, turmeric, paprika, and a little bit of cumin, also olive oil, parsley. There's something about a savory muffin that I just love, and I've been really trying to get more fiber in my diet, which is exactly why I wanted to make these muffins, so that I knew I was starting every single day with at least some fiber. I rarely ever use measurements when I'm cooking. I'm usually just eyeballing it. So I chopped up about half of a white onion and then also 3 cloves of garlic, and I just added all of this to the bowl. And then I just chopped up also a little handful of parsley and threw that in as well. I cracked 3 eggs into this bowl and then put an entire cup of lentils in here that we had already cooked. I only used half a lemon and I thought it was the perfect amount. I also added in probably about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. The turmeric really added a unique flavor to these, which I really, really liked. I also added the cumin, the paprika, the salt and pepper, and the flavors were just amazing on these muffins. I made sure that I oiled up this muffin pan a little bit, and then I put the mix in, and then I topped the muffins with sesame seeds. So I've taken the potatoes out of the oven and the zucchini fries are ready to go in. I just topped this with some olive oil, salt, pepper, and rosemary. I've also turned the oven down to 250, so we're gonna throw in the zucchini chips and the lentil muffins at the same time. Now we're ready to start making our chicken salad. I'm just cutting up some apple and then some celery. I ended up cutting 2 apples and an entire thing of celery. I also chopped up more parsley. Every time I'm buying fresh herbs, I literally use them in everything. And then I took the chicken out of the slow cooker and shredded it with 2 forks. I never knew how easy chicken salad was to make. You literally just throw your chicken in, any vegetables you want. I like my chicken salad crispy, which is why I added a lot of celery. You want to add just half of a lemon, and then it's just yogurt, mayonnaise, Dijon mustard, and if you're seasoning it with something like curry, then you'd also throw that in there. The fun thing about chicken salad is you can kind of change it throughout the seasons. You could easily throw in walnuts or even like a little hint of cinnamon. So I'm excited to experiment with some different chicken salads because I love making sandwiches for lunch. So I just finished the chicken salad. Now I'm gonna just quickly flip these zucchini chips, and then I'm ready to take our muffins out of the oven. These have cooked already for about 20 minutes. So I usually like to leave these in for like 55 minutes or 60 minutes. These look so good. They smell so good too. I'm starting to really like having prepped potatoes in the refrigerator. Potatoes are usually the thing that takes the longest every single night when I'm making dinner, and just to have them already ready makes things so much easier. I'm taking my ground beef from ButcherBox. You guys know I love ButcherBox, and I do have a code, and it's going to be in the description. But I'm just putting this in a bowl, mixing it with an egg, some salt and pepper, and mashing this up with my hands. I also threw in a little hint of cinnamon and a little bit of garlic powder. When you're making meatballs or burgers from scratch, you really can't be a perfectionist, or you're going to end up overhandling your meat, which causes it to not stick together as well. So none of these are really the same size, but that's totally okay. While those were setting in the refrigerator, I went ahead and made the yogurt sauce for our zucchini chips. So I just started out with some tahini.
I love any dressing that's tahini based. And then I added in a few scoops of yogurt. I added in a lemon, an entire lemon. I wanted this super lemony. And then I added in some olive oil, probably like a tablespoon and a half, and then some salt, and finally some rosemary.
Unfortunately, my camera died and then my housekeeper came, so I had to basically stop meal prepping. The meat for the burgers has been in the refrigerator, just setting. And so all we have to do is cook those and assemble them, and then our meal prep is done. So when you make these, just make sure you let them cool all the way before you flip the pan over, because I actually lost 2 muffins. And thankfully I had some more batter, but I lost 2 muffins when I first took these out of the oven because I was trying to take them out while they were too hot. So I ended up eating 2 of those, and they are literally such delicious, savory muffins. I think if I was going to change anything about these, I might have caramelized the onions before putting them in here, but either way, these are delicious. My cast iron is really hot, so I'm gonna go ahead and start placing these little burgers on. Basically going to place them on and then flatten them. The trick with these is you just don't wanna over handle them, so just try to not touch them too much after you flatten them. We're going for this like charred brown look. That's gonna give these the most amount of flavor.
These mini sliders were so juicy. I just started by putting a sweet potato base down and then a patty, and then I did a little bit of honey mustard, a little piece of avocado, and then the top of the bun, which is the sweet potato. To help these stay together better, I did use toothpicks, and that was a total game changer. I was kind of obsessed with how cute these were becoming, and then I had an idea while I was making these that you could totally cut the sweet potato the other way, the way that we cut the other potato, and then make your burger patties a little bit bigger for a thicker style of a sweet potato burger. But honestly, I love these little bite-sized ones, and they were insanely delicious.
This is everything that I meal prepped this week. So we have our beef sliders for dinner, we have our chicken salad for lunch, and I do have a loaf of sourdough. We have our lentil muffins, these are delicious. And then we have our zucchini chips and dip. Let me know if you guys liked the format of this video. I hope it wasn't confusing, but I wanted to show exactly how I meal prep so that this doesn't take me all day. And so I'm doing all of the recipes at the same time, but it makes it so much easier to meal prep many different kinds of foods and it not take over your entire day. But if you guys prefer to just have it one recipe at a time, just let me know. I'm happy to do it either way. I'm so excited to enjoy all of these creations. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.